generation of elected officials who he said have failed the country.
We're done, ladies and gentlemen, catering to Wall Street. We'll commit to the working man.
Vance said Joe Biden spent decades backing moves that undermined American workers. From NAFTA to the Iraq War, Vance said Biden was wrong while Donald Trump was right.
Joe Biden screwed up, and my community paid the price.
Vance paid an emotional tribute to his mother, who struggled with addiction when he was a child, but has been sober for nearly a decade.
I love you, Mom.
His running mate Donald Trump addresses delegates here tonight. I'm Stephen Portnoy at the Republican Convention in Milwaukee. Now with more news, here's Sherry Preston.
Growing calls for the head of the Secret Service to resign amid security lapses at the Trump rally at which the former president was almost assassinated.
According to lawmakers briefed by the FBI, the Secret Service knew the shooter was on a roof nearby 20 minutes before he took his first shots. Lawmakers say the FBI has provided this timeline.
That's ABC.
Okay, and good morning. Welcome to the video live stream. Let's see. We got the camera set up here, right? I think so. Let me go that way. All right. Do we have sound on this morning? Okay, we've got sound on this morning as well. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the WSJM Morning Show on the video live stream. We will dip out here for local news in just a moment, but I've got a guest in the studio. Say hello to Roger Johnson. He's a lieutenant with the Berrien County Sheriff's Department. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We will ask you questions about who you are and what you do and why you're running for Berrien County Sheriff in just a few moments, if that's all right.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Very good. And just get up close and personal on that microphone. We'll be right back.
Finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
And good morning, 7:03. It's the WSJM Morning Show, taking a look at some of the stories that we're following for you today from under a WSJM Newsroom. One man faces multiple gun charges after an investigation into illegal gun sales in Cass County this week. Cass County Sheriff's Department says its drug enforcement team received a tip about a suspect, a known felon, selling drugs and apparently in possession of several firearms. Detectives on Monday were told that the guns were being held in a travel trailer in Howard Township. With the help of the Pokagon Tribal Police, a traffic stop was made on the vehicle and travel trailer in Niles, and police found 21 guns and ammunition in that trailer. The 40-year-old suspect was arrested for being a felon in possession of firearms, and further investigation found 2 of the guns were stolen. The suspect remains in the Cass County Jail. His name has not yet been released. More electric vehicle infrastructure in the form of charging stations is coming to Southwest Michigan. That specifically will be Bridgman, New Buffalo, and South Haven. They are all receiving state grants to install some more EV charging stations. WSJM's Andrew Green has this story.
The Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy announced this week more than $900,000 in EV charging station grants are being awarded to 17 communities to continue development of the multi-state Lake Michigan Circuit Initiative. That's a multi-state plan to build electric vehicle infrastructure along Lake Michigan to support coastal tourism. The city of Bridgman's receiving $135,000 for 2 fast charging stations. New Buffalo is getting $20,000 to go toward 2 level 2 chargers. And South Haven's receiving more than $260,000 for 4 fast charging stations and 1 level 2 charger. The grants all come with local matches that vary per community. Also part of the initiative are Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana. Andrew Green, WSJM News.
Indiana Michigan Power has filed a new generation resource plan with the Michigan Public Service Commission outlining how it intends to meet the electricity demands of its customers in the coming years. I&M spokesperson Kara Stevenson tells us the company continues moving toward its goal of net zero carbon emissions by 2045. To do so, it will rely on multiple sources of energy.
With these generation sources, the biggest focus for us is offering the affordability, but also making sure that we're targeting reliability, sustainability, and resource diversification.
Stevenson says the plan maintains the Cook nuclear power plant as the anchor of I&M's output, but expands capacity by adding new solar, wind, and natural gas energy production.
The two solar plants, the wind and the natural gas, are purchase agreements, meaning that I&M will not own and operate any of the facilities.
The solar, wind, and natural gas plants are all located in Indiana. If approved by the MPSC, I&M says the resources named would complement its current clean energy generation, which includes 5 solar plants, wind from 4 plants, 6 hydroelectric plants, and the Cook plant. Stevenson does not know the timeline of the MPSC on when they might make a decision to approve I&M's plan. And the Benton Harbor Arts Association is hosting its annual Children's Art Fair this Saturday. From 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., there will be artist demonstrations, music, art stations, and other activities taking place at the Arts Park. Vice President of the association, Bethany Cubbage, says she's looking forward to seeing the event inspire the area's young people.
I'm just excited to see all the kids out having a great time and learning about art. When I was a kid, my parents used to take me down to the Children's Art Fair, so it's really cool that I get to be a bigger part of it and help bring joy and memories to the kids in our community's lives.
Featured at the fair will be a children's art exhibit. Children between the ages of 3 and 12 have an opportunity to display their work and compete for prizes. Cubbage says that's continuing their mission of inspiring youth and supporting a vibrant art community. 60 degrees in Benton Harbor right now, 61 in St. Joseph. It's 7:07. Good morning. It's the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. We'll be back in just a few minutes. We'll have our conversation with Lieutenant Roger J.R. I got that right. Roger J.R. Johnson. People know you by J.R. And here, let me turn your microphone up. People know you by J.R.
Correct.
But on the ballot, it's going to say Roger Johnson.
Roger Johnson Jr.
Okay. Very good. So we'll talk about your background. We're going to do this on the video live stream because we also have a conversation this morning on the air with Barry and Risa. So between the radio and the video live stream, we're going to have a lot of information thrown at you this morning. It is the WSJM Morning Show.
It's the final day of the All-Star break for the Tigers. The stretch run starts tomorrow in Toronto with a 3-game weekend.
Okay, over on the video live stream, good morning. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. And we're continuing our candidate series. Good morning, John. Good morning, Teresa. And good morning, others who are joining us. Roger J.R. Johnson. He's a lieutenant with the Berrien County Sheriff's Department, and he is a candidate for Berrien County Sheriff. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
When we were setting up this interview, you let me know that you typically work the night shift. So I'm sorry for keeping you up.
Well, no, I actually had training yesterday, so I got off at 10 p.m.
Okay,
so a little change of plans.
Okay, so not too bad. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Roger J.R. Johnson?
Well, I grew up in Berrien Springs, graduated from Berrien Springs High School. I was actually born at Berrien General Hospital in Berrien Center, which doesn't technically exist anymore.
Okay.
Moved to St. Joe probably 16, 17 years ago with my wife and now 3 kids.
Congratulations, 3 kids. What are you, boys, girls?
Oldest is a boy. He's 17. Actually has 7-on-7 today in Chelsea, Michigan for football, St. Joe.
Okay.
Then I have 2 daughters.
Okay, excellent. So what led you to law enforcement?
It's just something that was instilled in me from an early age. It was something that I just always wanted to do. A lot of people ask that. I don't really ever have a specific answer. It's just something I guess is in my blood.
Yeah. What is it that you do at for the Berrien County Sheriff's Department?
Currently, I'm a patrol lieutenant, assigned to midnights, like you said. Shift starts at 10. I get off at 6 a.m. Typically, a typical day, I'd make assignments to deputies, assign areas, check the schedule, post overtime, report their compensatory time, and then go out on patrol, handle calls. Part of the minimum typically, so I have to be out there taking calls as well.
When did you decide, I work for the Berrien County Sheriff's Department. I see that there's an opening potentially coming up. I'm going to run for sheriff. When did that occur to you and why?
It started a long time ago. People
Okay.
bringing it up randomly without me even projecting the idea to anybody. And it's kind of grown from there. I've been doing this job a long time, and and I figured if I can go out on a good note and leave the place better than when I found it, I think that's a good exit plan.
Why do you think it started coming up in your life?
I'm not entirely too sure. I don't know. It started almost joking a long, long time ago,
Yeah.
and then I tried to get away from it mentally because I've never been involved with politics. I said, "No, it's not me. It's not something that I'd probably do or even know that I'd be good at." And I tried checking out from it, and it just kept revisiting, almost like it was something that I was meant to do.
Yeah. And as we continue the conversation, we'll ask you also about goals that you would have for the sheriff's office if you're elected, and what you see as the sheriff's office, what it looks like in 5 or 10 years. But what do you think the qualifications are for somebody who is sheriff of the county?
Well, I believe the qualifications are somebody that started from the ground. I think somebody that leads the department needs to understand the department below him, and needs to understand what officers go through on a daily basis, emotionally, physically, obviously the shift work, and uh, a leader has to understand that, and they need to know where they're coming from. And I've been through just about everything you can go through in law enforcement, and I have a good relationship with my fellow employees. And I think me being put in the position to lead them would be an honor.
Yeah, talk a little bit about it. You mentioned shift work. For people who don't know, I mean, because there are a lot of us, most of us, we have no idea what a law enforcement officer goes through day to day. What does that look like? You ran through kind of your shift, but once you start that shift, what does that look like day to day?
As far as duties or
Sure.
assignments,
Yes.
so
And even when you get in the vehicle and you're out there, being that line between law and people who are perhaps unlawful.
so why I got into this is to essentially be that person to stand up for somebody that can't stand up for themselves. As an officer, you're asked to do things and tasks and go into situations that a lot of people wouldn't want to. And sometimes on my way to calls, I ask myself, how's this going to turn out? How's this going to end? And that's part of the mentality of a police officer. And at the sheriff's department, we have a lot of really good officers. We have a lot of them that go into situations that do the job, and they don't ask questions, and they don't ask to be recognized for it.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality you have to be a good officer. You can't expect things in return. You got to understand this is what you signed up for. And you just have to do a really good job. I mean, once that line's broken, and everybody talks about the thin blue line, but nobody really understands the complexity of that. And that thin blue line stands between people's everyday life, that they wake up in the morning and don't realize typically what went on the night before, or what was done, or what took place, in order that they can wake up and live that life. So it's very important to hold that line. Once it breaks, I don't know what we'll have in society.
Yeah. No, you make a very good point, because most of us, myself, I go to sleep early because I get up early. But if I hear sirens going by, you wonder what it is. Oftentimes you'll look and you'll see, okay, it's an ambulance. Somebody's having a medical emergency, send prayers, that kind of thing. But every now and again, you'll hear an inordinate number of sirens. And being a news person myself, I'll turn on my scanner and I'll hear what's going on. And sometimes every blue moon or so, you'll see, as it probably happens more frequently than that, there's a chase, and officers are involved in a high-speed pursuit with somebody who is not obeying the law. I mean, tell us about what is that environment when those kinds of calls happen?
Well, it's emotions up and down. You're sometimes exhausted after things happen. You go from sitting stationary, your day is going to be calm, and it goes from that to 100 miles an hour to back to being calm. You're sometimes tired afterwards.
Yeah.
And pursuits are their own animal. It's a huge responsibility, and at the sheriff's department, our policy allows us to dictate as supervisors whether a pursuit continues or not. That's a big issue I have with pursuits. Don't think that it's right that we just let criminals go. It emboldens them. It makes them feel more comfortable committing crimes when they can run and get let go. But I also I'm not for chasing somebody 100 miles an hour through downtown St. Joe or risking the public's life that we're supposed to be there to protect. So there's tools now. There's things available that we can implement and let us do our job better and protect the public.
Is there a policy in place right now on pursuits that you would change?
There is. So this one I've been going back and forth in my head for quite some time. It's a huge responsibility, but the pursuit intervention technique, there is technology now that would allow us to intervene in pursuits and stop them almost immediately without the pursuit intervention technique because it's risky. It can be risky. Obviously, there's speeds that needs to be observed while thinking about it. But I've had pursuits in my past that people would still be alive if I implemented it when I felt comfortable implementing it. But in every officer's head today, it's liability, prosecution, and you hesitate when it comes down to making those decisions.
Yeah. What is that? How do you stop vehicles today? Or what are some of the options that you can use?
So we obviously carry spike strips, stop sticks. We carry those. Those are very dangerous for the officer to deploy. I've deployed several of them.
Why are they dangerous?
So essentially, you have to get out in front of the chase.
Okay.
So a lot of times I found myself running across 94, unspooling the line to get ready for this high-speed vehicle to come through.
Wow.
In order to stop it, but in our head, like I said before, you have to be able to put yourself in those situations because you got to think, what's the potential for this pursuit and where can it go and who can it harm? So it's our job to get it stopped. They do have technology now. I just actually watched some videos on it yesterday called the Grappler, if people want to look it up. It's very impressive. It puts an end to pursuit safely. And that would be one of my goals is to look into that for the cost versus reward. I think it's a very good potential.
What is the Grappler? What does it do? Just briefly.
So I found out it was invented by a roofer. He watched a pursuit on TV and thought it was crazy and a risk to the officers and public. So he invented it, and it's essentially, it looks like a bunch of tow straps on the front of the car, and you get up next or behind the vehicle that's running and you drop it, and it tangles in the axle and immediately stops the vehicle within seconds.
Yeah, I imagine.
It's our job. It's our job to stop the criminals, but it's also our job to keep the public safe. We don't want somebody minding their own business going through an intersection and getting hit.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's an option.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. You mentioned it goes from being when you're on duty and a chase begins, you're all of a sudden going from, okay, this is going to be a normal day, let's hope, knock on wood, to, okay, we've all of a sudden got to go into a pursuit mode. How do officers handle those emotions day to day?
I think pretty well. I think they call it death by 1,000 cuts. For police officers, it's not the one incident; it's the numerous incidents that you go to, the things you see, the things you deal with, the elevation of emotion, and it eventually starts taking a toll on officers. Right. Just recently, we started actually paying attention to mental health within the department. Because the service to the public is only as good as our service to the officers that are serving the public, and I think it's very important.
Yeah. How would you, as if you are elected sheriff, how would you make sure that is being cared for?
Well, with police officers, we carry a gun. So police officers are very hesitant to ask for help because they can be labeled. It could give them a negative, develop a negative view on them. And actually you get the wrong outcome. They could say you're not capable of working anymore. So we need to provide, a source for police officers to ask for help without asking.
And is that in place now?
Yeah, we just put together a team. It's a peer support team, and some people at the department put together. I don't know how well it's been going. I haven't taken part in it. So I don't know. Everything is new, and all you can do is try.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking with Roger Johnson, Roger J.R. Johnson. He's a lieutenant with the Berrien County Sheriff's Department, and he's running for Berrien County Sheriff. We've learned a little bit about you. You were born in Berrien Springs, you said?
Berrien Center.
Berrien Center, at a place that no longer exists.
The building's there, but it's no longer a hospital.
No longer a hospital. How has the area changed since you joined law enforcement? This is probably putting it too simple, but is it safer than when you began?
Uh, I think the crimes. I think the crimes are different. I think
How so?
I wouldn't say it's safer.
Yeah. How are the crimes different?
Mental health. We've had a huge influx and increase in mental health dealings. People we deal with that, um, whether it's drug induced or your mental health without the drug induction. But that seems to be elevated and gone through the roof.
What does that look like on the street?
Well, not too long ago, we had somebody barricaded in a house who I actually tried to speak to on the phone. And a lot of times you can speak to people, you can reason with them, you can, care. And when they're in a certain mental state or under the influence of certain drugs, it's hard to even talk to them.
Yeah.
And that's the bad part about our job and the mental health aspect and the influx of the narcotics that have come in, not just our area, but everywhere.
Okay. And as that increase in some of the mental health issues and the drug issues, drugs, big problem,
It is, yes,
rising,
it is.
fentanyl.
Correct.
What, how do you feel it's being addressed right now, and is it being addressed adequately?
Well, I think we're doing what we can at this point. I think we're dealing with it. We carry Narcan for that purpose, but I feel like we're
For those who don't know what Narcan is,
it's a substance that we can administer to somebody going through an overdose, and we can bring them back.
Yep.
Essentially, along with sometimes CPR.
yeah. Okay. All right. I want to talk to you about perhaps your priorities for the sheriff's office, what you'd like to see changed, and that and more. Let's do that in just a moment. We're talking with Roger Johnson. He's running for Berrien County Sheriff. We'll be right back. It's the WSJM Morning Show.
Since 2001, Webstix has completed over 1,000 website projects and over 20,000 maintenance tasks for their happy customers. And now, excited to be serving Southwest Michigan. Learn more about purchasing blocks today by contacting Webstix. Call 269-925-1123 or visit stunningsitesmoreclicks.com and click the contact link.
Stunning sites, more clicks, web design from Webstix.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
And it's 7:23 right now. It's going to be a beautiful day. We'll have the full forecast coming up in just a few moments, but you can expect mostly sunny skies today and a high probably in the mid-70s. It's just going to be gorgeous. Lower humidity. The wind blew that out. It's a little chilly in some areas. We had readings in the mid to upper 50s in some of the outlying areas. Right now, we're continuing our conversation with the candidate for Berrien County Sheriff. It's Lieutenant Roger J.R. Johnson. And if you've missed any of it from the video live stream, we've talked to Roger about his background, where he was born, his upbringing, and how he joined the sheriff's office. But let's talk a little bit about some of your goals for the Berrien County Sheriff's Office. If you're elected, what would you do? What would be your top priorities?
Well, I'd like to provide some more tools to the deputies. We've had really good experiences lately with drones.
Okay.
I know some people feel one way or the other, but our extent of the use of our drones are, accident reconstruction, evaluating scenes. I've seen these drones potentially save deputies' lives. I've been listening to some podcasts lately about these drones and how these departments are implementing them, and they're actually lowering their officer use of force because they can evaluate situations much better as opposed to running in a door. They have indoor drones, outdoor. There's just the cost for the drones in comparison and the maintenance of the cost or lack thereof just is a no-brainer to me for what they provide. I'd like to implement a drone team. I'd like to be more proactive so we can actually gain some ground. I'd like to make Berrien County known as a place that we don't back down and we hold criminals accountable. You're not going to just run, get away, and you don't want to run drugs through the county.
Do you think that the county isn't in a proactive enough stance as far as, because it's the second time you've mentioned we just don't let criminals get away. What's happening out there?
So I feel like we're just keeping up. I think we're a responsive department. We respond to calls mostly because our minimums on the road have not changed essentially since I've started. obviously there's funding involved for police officers, but we need to get in a more proactive mindset. And when I started, we'd come into shift briefing and we'd evaluate, who's wanted, who's the most violent offender that needs to be picked up, and that's who we're going to get. Anymore, it seems like, we spend a lot of our time signing into computers, having computer issues, talking about interdepartmental stuff. And we need to get back to being proactive, and we need to let the officers know being proactive isn't going to get you in trouble. What's going to get you in trouble is something intentional, something that is obviously wrong, but I've lived it, and I know that in the back of your head, you're scared. You're scared to get in trouble, prosecuted. I've been through lawsuits. My name's been on the prosecutor's desk. I've been through it all, and I know how they think and what's going through their head. And it's hard. It's hard to voluntarily put yourself in a position that could be detrimental, to your well-being. So we need to get that mindset changed.
How would you go about changing that mindset? I mean, there's an old saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast every day, right?
Yeah.
It's tough to change a culture. So what's required to change, and how would you change it?
Well, our culture obviously had changed, so I believe it can be changed back. I think if I, get in and promote proactiveness, give these young deputies something to look forward to. When you're a police officer, it's not to be rich; it's to get in, it's to do your job. It's the little things, possibly an interdiction team. I know recruiting is a big issue, but when you have officers looking at a department that they see the department as somewhere they can go and actually do their job, and they'll be respected for it, they'll be back for it. That's gonna help out our recruiting. There's a lot of departments that I think we could probably end up with some officers from, being that there's some incidents, I guess, in play that these officers are probably looking for other places to go. But it'd be my job to make sure Berrien County has the best service possible.
Okay. I want to pick up on that note and more. We're talking with Roger J.R. Johnson. He's a candidate for Berrien County Sheriff, and we'll continue this conversation in a few moments. We've got news from Bloomberg, ABC, our local news, and sports coming up in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Hey, I'm not Ryan.
And I'm not Jason. Introducing Blaine and Mitch from Lakefront Roofing and Exteriors.
We're part of the Lakefront team that measures.
You mentioned, we're continuing our conversation with Roger Johnson, a candidate for Berrien County Sheriff. You mentioned that I told you, they let me push too many buttons, and sometimes I miss one. You mentioned that there are some officers that might come available. What did you mean by that?
Well, you look at, Grand Rapids, you got Officer Scher up there, he's going through a lot, and it's hard from a distance to judge and say somebody did something right or wrong, but a lot of officers look at that and they pull back, when they see an officer charged for something. So we have that issue, and we have that sitting on the minds of a lot of police officers, and that's detrimental to society. Yeah. When the police officers feel like they aren't able to do their job. I'm not saying go out and violate people's rights and make illegal traffic stops, but there's a lot of crime out there that can be stopped with a little bit of proactiveness.
Okay. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I've got to get to some news here. We're talking with Roger Johnson, Roger J.R. Johnson. It'll appear on the ballot as Roger Johnson, Jr. For Berrien County Sheriff. We'll be back and continue this discussion in just a moment after news. Thanks for joining us.
Business Minute on WSJM is brought to you by Sturgis Bank and Trust. Let's grow together. Serving Berrien Branch, Kalamazoo, St. Joseph, and Van Buren counties. Now with 2 new locations in St. Joseph, downtown, and on Cleveland Avenue. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Warner Brothers Discovery is considering splitting its streaming and studio businesses from its legacy television operations. According to the Financial Times, the move is being considered to boost share value. The report says Warner Brothers is also considering selling some of its assets. The framework for the new WNBA media rights deal is emerging as a current contract is set to expire after next season. The Washington Post reports that the league is set to bring in $2.2 billion over 11 years, which would more than triple the current deal. WNBA players are expected to opt out of their collective bargaining agreement after this season to negotiate better terms based on higher revenue. The fall of Bud Light continues as the former top-selling beer in the U.S. has now dropped to third place. The drop in sales began in April of last year after a boycott was started when the beer brand sent a transgender influencer a gift of personalized beer cans. The two beers ahead of Bud Light are Modelo Especial and now Michelob Ultra. I'm Dan Schwartzman, Bloomberg Radio.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. President Biden confirmed to have COVID, taking Paxlovid, symptoms said to be mild. Division among the Democratic Party, however, about his re-election. Here's ABC's Perry Russum.
According to ABC News contributor and political reporter Rachel Bade, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told Biden last week that she and other Democratic lawmakers worry he's dragging down the party. A Pelosi ally saying the speaker does not want to call on him to resign, but she will do everything in her power to make sure it happens.
At the Republican National Convention, Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance delivered his acceptance speech last night. Donald Trump will do the same this evening. His wife Melania and daughter Ivanka will be in the audience. Many questions about the lapses in security at Trump's Pennsylvania rally. Officials say the man who tried to assassinate him and did kill a Trump supporter was spotted 20 minutes before he took his first shots. Head of the Secret Service has agreed to testify Monday as she faces growing calls to resign. This is ABC News.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
The time is 7:31. The temperature outside is 61 degrees in Benton Harbor and St. Joseph. I'm Ken Lundberg. Good morning. We've got more in our interview with Roger J.R. Johnson. He's a candidate for Berrien County Sheriff. That's coming up in just a few moments. Taking a look at some of the local news that we're following from the WSJM Newsroom. Set for tonight at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Southwest Michigan's Benton Harbor Teen Center is a forum with Michigan State House candidates. The Boys and Girls Club's Tess Ulrey tells us they have invited candidates for State House in the 38th and 37th districts to come and talk about youth issues. The candidates will be asked questions by young people who are part of the Boys and Girls Club programs. On hand will be Democratic State Representative Joey Andrews and the two Republicans running in the primary to replace him. Those are Kevin Whiteford and George Lucas. Also present will be State Representative Brad Paquette and Democrat opponent Angela Jones. The forum's open to the public. It'll also be streamed live on the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Southwest Michigan's YouTube channel. It starts at 5:30 at the Teen Center on Empire Avenue in Benton Harbor. State Senator Eric Nesbitt is in Milwaukee this week for the Republican National Convention. He tells us the mood has been high energy as Republicans from across the country stand united behind former President Donald Trump. We asked Nesbitt if Saturday's assassination attempt on Trump has affected the atmosphere at the convention. He'll have more on that coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. New leadership is on the horizon for St. Joseph Public Schools. We talked with Kristen Box, who was recently confirmed as the new superintendent. She says she's preparing for the upcoming school year, and she's also spent the last 20 years in the district serving as a teacher, a principal, and assistant superintendent. So we'll get some more views from her coming up at 8 o'clock as well. It's the WSJM Morning Show. That's a look at local news. We've got sports coming up next. Also, we'll continue our conversation with one of the candidates for Berrien County Sheriff, Lieutenant Roger J.R. Johnson. That's right here in just a few minutes.
The Michigan News Network.
I'm Beth Fisher. Ohio Senator J.D. Vance was introduced to the
All right. Good morning. Let's see. You've got some support, Roger, from Tim Woodall. He says you're the best candidate for sheriff. Let's go, JR. And Kevin Timothy Plus, I think is his last name. JR for sheriff. So you know those individuals?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Well, thank you for watching. We appreciate you, and thanks for joining the WSJM Morning Show. Tell us a little bit more about what you do in your free time away from law enforcement. What do you do? What do you do for fun?
Well, I used to hunt and fish quite a bit, but since I've had kids, that's become my hobby.
Yeah, it's tough, right?
Yeah.
Time-wise.
Yeah, it is. It's tough, but right now at this point in my life with my son, it's going to be a senior year, and football has become something that I have an extreme passion in. Once again, it's been a long time.
What position does he play?
He just moved to linebacker.
Okay.
So his
you're feeding him well then.
Yeah. He's about 5'10", 200 pounds, and I'm excited for the season, but I'm not excited for it to go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. What else?
My daughter, cross country, track. It's a lot of fun watching her, and my youngest is goes to Grace, and she enjoys basketball and soccer, and that's pretty much become my hobbies.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you're not really much for the politics. How did you decide to run as a Republican for Berrien County Sheriff nomination?
So, being that I'm not into politics, I actually started doing some searches, and I read a little bit about the Taxpayer Party, what they're about, limited government spending and oversight and transparency. I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat. And me not understanding, I reach out to them, and they're like, hey, we'd love to have you. We have zero resources. Being somebody that doesn't know what I'm doing, and I actually had a friend in the Republican Party that I was talking to, and I have a lot of respect for her, and I know what her intentions are. I'm like, I think I could align with this. So she started introducing me to some other people, and I'm like, hey, I think this is my home. That's pretty much how I decided it.
Okay. How has the reception been? I assume you've been to a couple of the Republican events around here.
I have.
Yeah. How has it gone so far? What are you hearing from people?
I think it's gone pretty well. I think we've overcomplicated, law enforcement, and I think we need to get back to law enforcement instead of politics. Instead of worrying about the perception, we need to worry about the effect. People need to know when they go to sleep, and the majority of people don't know what we do on a daily basis, nor do they have to, if they don't want to. But it should be expected that their money is being allocated, and they should be able to walk around on a daily basis and not have to worry about what we're doing. But if they do want to know, they should be able to know.
Yeah.
It's essentially a public funded business, and the ones that fund the business are the ones that have the rights to know.
Okay. Is the money being managed well, you think?
I think there's some things we could change. Certainly, law enforcement has changed immensely. Even in the last 10 years, it's changed. There's, like I talked about, there's other technology. There's new issues that need to be dealt with. So I think we just need to adapt to the times, and I think we need to pay attention to what we're doing, and move forward from there. Identify the problems.
Yeah. How is the Berrien County Jail operation at this point? Is it? Would you like to see a new jail?
I think everybody would like to see something new at their place of employment. Obviously we would, but I know they just put a bunch of money into it, redoing it, the Sally Port, the booking, and it's actually pretty nice inside there. I know it's an old building, but there's a lot of history too.
Yeah. Okay. What are some of the other areas that you would like to see changed? And is there a process in place where people feel that they can raise their voices when they see something going wrong, or something that needs opportunity? Let's say.
I don't believe so. That's another thing that needs to change. There's a lot of smart people at our department. There's a lot of people with great ideas, and I think a good leader listens to other people's ideas and doesn't believe that they're the one that knows everything. And just because it's not their idea, it's not a good idea. And that's something certainly that I would probably put on the front page and make sure that the deputies know that their ideas and their contribution to the department is respected and will be received well. Whether it's something I would agree with or not, it needs to be listened to. Because there's a lot of good ideas that just don't get heard.
Yeah, and maybe talk a little bit about that, since you raised the topic. I mean, one of the things that we would like to understand more is your leadership style. For those who are within the department, what would you describe your leadership style as?
Well, I don't like micromanaging. We pay a lot of people, a lot of supervisors, a lot of money to do a job. Me as a midnight lieutenant, I lead my shift, and I don't think we need to be looked over 100% of the time. As a sheriff, you need to spend your time being the sheriff. You pay a lieutenant to be a lieutenant. We actually have an admin lieutenant, an admin captain. So I would expect those people to do their job without my constant oversight.
Yeah. Okay. We're talking with Roger J.R. Johnson. He's running for Berrien County Sheriff. We'll be back in just a moment with more of that interview. Before we wrap up the hour, we'll do our Moody on the Market update. That's where we ask for you to give your pitch on why people should vote for you. But between now and then, we'll talk about a couple more issues, if that's all right.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, good. It's the WSJM Morning Show. We'll be right back.
casino and sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
Tired of internet providers that don't understand what you and your family need? Midwest Energy and Communications is here with fast, reliable fiber internet exclusively for rural southern Michigan residents. Stream shows and movies, game online, and work from home without data caps or throttling. Your whole family can be online at the same time without slowdowns or interruptions. And when you call for assistance, you get to speak with a local support team. Learn more about Midwest Energy and Communications rural fiber internet and check your eligibility at teammidwest.com/internet.
Mostly sunny skies today and a little on the cooler side. We're going to end up with high temperatures at 75 inland, but at the beaches today, upper 60s near 70 degrees. Winds will be light, but they will be out of the north. Tonight, clear skies down to 55 and sunny and high temperatures around 75 again tomorrow afternoon. We should be back up close to 80 this weekend. I'm meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
And it's 7:41, 61 degrees in Benton Harbor, 62 in St. Joe right now, 57 degrees in Dowagiac. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your morning. We're continuing our conversation with the candidate for Berrien County Sheriff. It's Lieutenant Roger J.R. Johnson, and he'll appear on the ballot as Roger Johnson, but you go by J.R. Why do you go by J.R.?
It's been asked my whole life. It's I'm a junior, so
Okay.
I think JR was just natural from the time I was a kid.
You prefer J.R. over Junior?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I would too.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
There's certain few people that call me junior on a regular basis, but
So you are a lieutenant within the Berrien County Sheriff's Department. Two things I'd like to ask you. Number one, most challenging experience that you've had within the department, and then number two, what's it like running against your boss? I mean, because you've got current interim sheriff is Chuck Haidt, and he's running for election to that post. You're within his department, so it's kind of like you're running against your boss for the position. What's that like?
well, it's one of those things. It's people should have a say, and without people stepping up, what good's the right to vote if you don't have choices? So if I can put another name on the ballot and allow people to have a choice, that makes me feel good in the end. I don't see him very often, so day to day, it's not. I don't have to deal with a lot of that. I'm on nights, so
Yeah.
kind of out of the picture as far as regular contact with anybody. I am switching back to afternoons in the fall,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean it's business.
Okay. Most challenging. Well, before we leave that, what have the other officers within law enforcement said to you about this?
I'm pretty well supported in the front line.
Okay.
I think people want somebody that knows what they go through and understands their goals and understands the thought process of actually being a police officer and putting the vest on and kissing your kids goodnight and going into work, not knowing what that next call is going to consist of, and I think they appreciate that.
You're part of a union?
I am.
How would you feel about going from being within the union to outside and negotiating?
I'm good with it. When I started at the sheriff's department, I questioned the reasoning behind a union, and I quickly learned that in law enforcement, you got to have something to protect you, whether you're doing good or bad. And in 24 years now of police work, I've had minimal issues, haven't used the union, except for a couple incidents, critical incidents that I had. They come in and help you write, a letter and review things for you. But I questioned the need for it for a long time, and then quickly realized that you got to have something, to help you out in case you need it.
Yeah, and talking about that, I mean, what would you say your most challenging experiences have been while in law enforcement, and how have you overcome those? And because I think it speaks to your leadership style as sheriff, if you're elected for that.
Yeah. So I've been involved in some critical incidents. There's, things that, in law enforcement, when you do a good job, doesn't mean you win. You do the job, you're successful, but you didn't necessarily win, because in our job, winning sometimes means that something bad happened, even though you did win. So overcoming that thought process and dealing with that and realizing, I'm not the one that put the situation together. I didn't develop the situation. Others chose that situation. I think developing that thought process and that mindset is is required in order to keep your feet under you. So I've overcome a lot of that, and I think that's a big deal. I think it needs to be done. I think people need to be coached sometimes through that and be helped out, because like I said before, that the service to the public is only as good as our service to the officers, and we need to make sure they're okay.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about internal view from the perhaps leadership perspective of the sheriff's department. What about externally? What do you see as some of we talked a little bit about the mental health challenges that are out there that are creating some additional crime challenges. What are some of the issues that are being faced by law enforcement, not just in Berrien County, but Michigan overall, the nation overall, and how do you view those?
So the perception of law enforcement obviously changed probably back around the BLM stuff, George Floyd. It's really changed, and I think opening up the conversations, I think talking, I'm a big fan of conversations because the unsaid is assumed to be bad. I'm 100% for transparency. I think things need to be talked about. I think we need to have the hard conversations. I've had hard conversations on midnight shift and in areas that, that people typically don't have those conversations. And I see, and I have a direct reflection of what the public's concerned about. And I think it's very important to address those concerns, because if you don't address them, they're just going to get worse.
Yeah, you mentioned George Floyd. Are we doing a good enough job on race relations here?
Me as a patrol lieutenant, I think we are. I think we as officers, do our best. I think we do a really good job. I don't see any negative issues within the road patrol. I think we're past that. 2024, I don't really think it's kind of like a bulletproof vest, like the guys used to not wear them and then they kept them in their car, and that's just part of our uniform now. And I think race relations within our department, it's kind of the same thing. It goes without being said, your job's your job, and people are people. So I think us as officers are doing a really good job. I just think communication needs to be upgraded. I see little kids that hate the police, and we need to change that mindset. And just a short story, I help a friend actually deliver furniture for a nonprofit. It's Our House of the Way, and that has done wonders for me. I didn't go into it being selfish and thinking, hey, what's it going to do for me? I went into it, my buddy needs help. But when we started doing it, I actually had a lady that gathered her grandkids in the house and wanted to pray for the police officer. And you don't get that when you're wearing a badge. When you're in uniform, people tend to avoid you. They don't necessarily come up and hug you. So I think it's paramount for our officers to get involved in the community and see things outside of the uniform. I think it's good for them. I think it's good for the community, and I think it's good for relations.
Okay. We're talking with Roger Johnson, Roger J.R. Johnson. He's a lieutenant with the Berrien County Sheriff's Office. He's running for the office of Berrien County Sheriff. There are 4 challengers in that race, and we've invited all of them to come in and give their views on this program. And so far, we've had, with today's interview, 2, and we have 2 more that are already on the schedule. So you can view those videos on our Facebook page when they do happen. Just go to WSJM on Facebook, and you can look for those. We're going to conclude our interview in just a moment with Roger and ask him why he wants your vote. That's coming up right in just a couple of minutes right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Listen to all that cash I saved shopping at my local Big Deal store. I know what you're thinking. Jenny, tell me more. Well, this is a secret I love sharing. Shop your local Big Deal store from your phone, computer, or tablet for gift certificates at discounted prices. Automotive, pets, retail, groceries, entertainment, outdoor, restaurants, services, travel, health, beauty. It's all there. Shop and soon you'll be saving too.
Don't wait. Go to bigdealsswmi.com today.
There is a place in Southwest Michigan where a fresh and innovative daily brunch and dinner menu will delight you, where craft cocktails and extensive wine and beer options will excite you, and where the ambiance feels like being on vacation right in your own backyard. That place is Planks. Planks Tavern on the water, inside the Inn at Harbor Shores, on the River Channel in St. Joe. Enjoy Planks Dockside Summer Social every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Indulge in delectable food and drink specials and great fun and games while enjoying the beats of talented DJs from Lux Entertainment. Kickstart the evening with half-off appetizers and pizza from 4 to 6. Brought to you by Century 21 affiliated St. Joseph's most desired real estate company. See the full menu plus creative drink options and more at plankstavern.com or book your reservation anytime on the Open Table app. Plank's Tavern on the water inside the inn at Harbor Shores. An experience away from it all without going far.
Hi, this is Pat Moody. Want to be in the know of what's happening in the business community here in Southwest Michigan? Then I recommend you check out Moody on the Market.
And I'm Ken Lundberg, news director for Moody on the Market. When you go to moodyonthemarket.com or open the Moody on the Market app, you'll find fresh daily stories focused on what's happening in our business community, interesting people you should know or be in the know about, as well as stories about life in Southwest Michigan and why we love it here.
Plus, we'd love your tips regarding potential stories and topics we might cover that you feel matter. Simply seek out the Contact Us tab at the website or in the app and send us your tip.
And we recommend you activate your notifications. Turn those on so you receive our stories as soon as we post them. Plus, sign up for our daily newsletter, which will be waiting for you in your email as you start your day.
So be in the know about what's happening in our business community day in and day out at moodyonthemarket.com and the Moody on the Market app.
Moody on the Market is a service made possible by your friends at Midwest Family.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen, so you got to be prepared for everything. And so we are talking with, we're continuing our candidate discussions this morning, and right now it's time for the Moody on the Market update, and it's brought to you by Insurance Management Service. You can call IMS today. They are your local auto owners insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. And as we've told you before, the Moody on the Market update is to talk about interesting people that you should know. And during our candidate series, we're using this opportunity to allow the candidates to come in and talk about themselves and talk about why they want your vote. And today we're talking with Lieutenant Roger J.R. Johnson from the Berrien County Sheriff's Office, and he's running for Berrien County Sheriff. So this is your opportunity, Roger, J.R., if I may. Tell us why you think people should vote for you for Berrien County Sheriff.
Well, law enforcement's a unique environment, and I think being in leadership, you need to come up from the bottom. I think any other job or position or company, you don't just start at the top. I've been in law enforcement from a young age, 21, and I've grown up through the ranks. And not only does it give me a perspective of directly what the public has concerns and interests in, it also humbles you. It makes you realize that having a badge doesn't mean a whole lot to anybody. It's exactly what you do with that badge, and I think the humbleness from being brought up from an early age in law enforcement, I think, is very important, and it'll transfer into leadership. And I think the vision is a lot larger when you come up through the ranks and you see things on a daily basis that need to be addressed. And in order to understand those issues, you have to live those issues. I think it's very important and detrimental to the department that somebody in leadership understands that and understands the needs of the community, understands the needs of the officer, has goals in mind to lessen use of force, build relationships with the community. I build community or relationships with the community on a nightly basis. You deal with people with respect, and you deal with people how they need to be dealt with, and I think that's very important. I think in a leadership role, you need to understand that stuff. So being brought up and starting from the bottom, I think is very important to understand the top.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming in this morning. We appreciate you. This is Lieutenant Roger J.R. Johnson. He's a candidate for Berrien County Sheriff, and that's his ask for your vote. So thanks for coming in. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks to you and everything that the Berrien County Sheriff's officers do on a daily basis. We do appreciate what you do in keeping us safe overnight.
Thank you.
All right. It's 7:54. It's the WSJM Morning Show. That's the Moody on the Market update. It's always brought to you by IMS, the Insurance Management Service. You can call IMS today. They are your local auto owners insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. And we'll be back with the weather forecast and a little bit more. We've got ABC News coming up at 8 o'clock. right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Rich Brand and Tarek Halsey from Insurance Management Service, your local auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and Niles, know it means something to have peace of mind knowing your insurance is taken care of.
Some people try to do the analytical game of, which plan makes more sense dollar-wise over a period of time, over a lot of years. Does it make more sense to take this deductible or that deductible or have this coverage or have that coverage? And at the end of the day, it really comes down to what helps you sleep at night.
Taking the time and just explaining to people what these coverages are and the positives and the negatives, that to me is a big deal. That's how you gain that trust. That's how those individuals, at the end of the day, they may stop thinking about what the total premium is, but just that peace of mind of knowing I am covered.
If you're going to pay the money, pay the insurance premium, it should help you sleep better at night.
IMS, an auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles.
We're watching over you. IMS Insurance Management Service.
Are you a business owner worried about the safety of your sensitive data? Look no further than Midwest Data Depot, your local off-site backup storage solution.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining us on the WSJM Morning Show video live stream. Well, how'd we do today? We had another candidate in, and we'll continue the series on Tuesday of next week. I'll have to look at the roster to see who we have coming in. But we continue these conversations, and if you ever want to go back and listen to any of them or watch the candidates, just go to our Facebook page or YouTube and look for the archive videos there. So we very much appreciate all the folks who have put their name on the ballot and have agreed to come in and talk to us. And so far, we haven't had a rejection yet. And everyone's been here on time, which is really nice. We've got weather coming up in just a couple of minutes and news from ABC. What do we got talking about? Oh, I want to talk about this anti-aging thing. There's a new study that talks about an anti-aging drug. It inhibits this certain thing that causes aging, and they think in mice it's actually improved their lifespan by like 25%. So we'll talk about that. That's probably going to have to wait till the 8 o'clock hour. Maybe I can get it in before 8 o'clock. All right, I'll keep the live stream on just in case. But we've got the, let's see, what else? Oh, Brett Witkowski's coming in tomorrow. He's got, potentially we'll have somebody who's coming in from the Republican National Convention that's been going on in Milwaukee this week. So we'll ask a local person their perspective and their views on what happened at the convention and what their takeaways were of the expectations, obviously prior to the assassination attempt on the former president, because you had a lot of heat going into that convention where the Republican factions were not very well united, but potentially that event in Pennsylvania helped to unite the party and focus on what it is they want to do. So we'll talk with Brett's guest if we can make sure that happens. That is scheduled for tomorrow at 7 o'clock. So stay tuned for that one. We'll be right back. It's the WSJM Morning Show. Thanks for being part of it.
From New Buffalo to St. Joe, Harrier, turn to the experts and feel at ease with McGee's.
Feel at ease with McGee's.
From the Pat Moody Studios, this is News Talk Sports 94.9. WSJM FM Benton Harbor, St. Joseph. Depend on us. The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
And it's so good of you to join us. I consider you my friend. I really do. It's 7:58. We've got a couple minutes before ABC News. For the first time, scientists have demonstrated how a specific protein increases in our organs as we get older and actively promotes the aging process. I don't have time to go into it right now, but I do want to share this story sometime in the 8 o'clock hour. So tune in for that. But yeah, they found the anti-aging drug, and they think they found the anti-aging drug. We can't say definitively right now. Really, the tests have been performed in mice so far, but what they found in the mice is something somewhat promising. Forecast for today. Let's get into that before we do ABC News. The forecast for today is sunny, high around 75 degrees inland, maybe a little cooler by the lake. Tonight's forecast, mostly clear, cool, low around 55 degrees, just some light winds. Friday's forecast does call for sunny skies, a high around 77, and south winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. the forecast for the weekend. So if we've got winds coming from the south, that's going to warm us up a little bit. We're going to see mostly sunny skies on Saturday, a high somewhere around 80 degrees, lows around 58. Sunday, same forecast, high 80, low 58, mostly sunny skies. And then as we go into Monday, it's going to be partly sunny, just a slim chance of rain being introduced as we get into the new work week. The high is going to be around 83 and low around 62 degrees. It is the WSJM Morning Show. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ken Lundberg. We'll have local news coming up next. Also sports right after this from ABC News.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The Republican Party's vice presidential nominee, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, on stage at the GOP convention amid more questions about security.
There we go. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us on the video live stream today. We've got more candidate interviews coming up next Tuesday. Tomorrow, we'll just have fun. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later.